Make your wish. Slaughter them all.
When I'm ready, and not before.
You live to fight another day.
Yes? Bye.
The Gem Gentile are an infestation. They are the Monkey King's fleas that drink of your lifeblood. Crush them in your work-forged hands.
Ready yourself. Make your wish. The battle begins. You live to fight another day.
When I'm ready, and not before.
I shall purify you in flame, horror of nightmare. My place is at God's side. Where will your journey end, exile?
He wanted me burned back in Aureus Gravisius. That wasn't very nice.
You are the true spirit of the Makoru, the shark. Not the cowardly beast that sinks its teeth into the lonely swimmer. You strike the Waikoama, the canoe, spilling a feast of men into the water. Hunters turned hunted, that you dine on at your pleasure. Have this, Makoru. There's still prey out there. An overreaching witch floundering out of her depth. Happy hunting, Makoru. Be well.
You getting by? You've done for Gravisius. If only I could get word to that lad I smuggled away from the General's wife at the time. The good widow would need a sympathetic shoulder to cry on. Stay out of the shadows. They bite.
Yes. Gravisius dined with us once. This was before my father's gambling debts caught up with him. I dined with him again in Theopolis prison the night before my exile. He wasn't so polite that time. Thank you. That's one memory I can now put to rest. Be careful.
Despite everything else you've done, to let piety live is to threaten the existence of every living thing on this continent. Look to the west of Gravisius's camp. You'll find piety in the Lunaris temple, cowering behind her desecrations. The Eternals revered sun and moon as the two eyes of their god. The right eye judging Solaris, the left eye merciful Lunaris. I can't imagine that god being overly merciful when she finds out what piety's been doing in her temple. Tread carefully, exile.
Watch yourself. Be careful.
what you wish. So be it. When I'm ready and not... You... You either master Nightmare, or it masters you. When I'm ready and not before.
worlds you could have conquered, you had to choose mine. Such power wasted on a feeble imagination. Damn you!
I loved your work, Piety. It was you I wasn't very fond of.
You have claimed the most worthy of prey, Makoru. Piety, the mistress of corruption. I'm not saying the war is over, but you've given Rayclast a much-needed respite. Because of you, this land lives to see another dawn. And don't forget that you've done Grigor and Clarissa a justice of some magnitude. They will wish to speak to you. Goodbye?
Piety's off to meet the Maker, is she? I'd love to be a fly on the wall of that little chat.
Good luck to you.
Wherever he is, I'm sure Tolman knows what you've done. I know you didn't do it for him, or for me. It doesn't matter. Piety's reign of cruelty is over. Thank you. Be careful.
Piety dies amongst her abominations, her warped dream taunting her, maddeningly out of reach. As a poet, I'm fond of that creed of justice. Here, the executioner needs recompense. Unfortunately, Piety was simply a puppet of a greater force. You've cut the strings, but the master remains. Dominus. That key you've picked up, I heard the blackguards talk of it. It's the one key to the Scepter of God on the northern edge of the blackguard encampment. Only Piety was permitted to carry it. Dominus accessed his laboratory at the summit of the tower via a pulley system rigged to the outside wall. That way will be barred to you. And I heard of no one, not even Piety, going in or coming out of the lower levels. Go with care, exile. I can't imagine what's inside that tower if even Piety and Dominus feared to tread its steps.
When Piety was experimenting on me, my consciousness was mercifully fleeting. In those moments of numbing darkness, I met a presence. Intelligence, power, immensity beyond the limits of my pitiable mortal senses. To this creature, I was but a raindrop falling into the sea. I heard Piety speak to her lackeys of the beast. It is the source of her thaumaturgy and the object of her ambitions. I believe Piety's beast and that dark entity are one and the same. Wherever it is, whatever it is, the beast is the cause of my malformation. It would not be a stretch of reason to consider the beast the source of all malformation in Rayclast. Now you must leave me.
That would just make life complicated.
You stand before the gates of the Lord's labyrinth. Within these walls, the Lady of Justice doth preside. She shall weigh your mind in one hand, your heart in the other. Should she find you wanting, death shall be your sentence. Should she find you worthy, you will be given the loyalty and love of an empire. The Lord's labyrinth awaits you. Choose wisely, strike quickly, trust completely, and may you find the ending that you deserve. The just goddess presides over us all. The future of the Empire rests in her even hands. Ascend with precision. In the impressionable youth of my reign, I was encouraged to believe in the precious nature of my imperial blood. The divine claret, as one fool of a courtier would repeat with tiresome regularity. Unfortunately, my divine claret refused to pour from one cup to another. Try as I might, with a lovely procession of young and ever dutiful wives, my noble seed simply would not sprout. Who then to choose as my worthy successor? With the candidates on hand either mediocre at best or maniacal at worst, I found myself in quite the quandary. That's when fortune took me by the hand and led me to a forgotten tome on a forgotten shelf in the quietest corner of San Library. A tome entitled Ancient Traditions of Asmarian Ascendancy. The rest, one might say, is history.
When I'm ready, and not before.
The weary traveler draws close to the end of the path. The Asmari were the first culture known in history to use trials of strength, wisdom, and spirit to select its chieftains. The first Lord's trial was a rough-hewn maze festooned with wild animals and brutal traps, crafted to test aspiring Asmarian leaders' body, mind, and soul. In conquering the adversities of the maze, a champion proved they were capable of bearing the crushing burden of chieftainship. The first trials were simple contraptions reflecting simple times. As the Asmarian civilization grew in number and complexity, so did the trials, from treacherous mazes to bewildering labyrinths. Alas, there are no surviving descriptions of the labyrinth that tested and proved the worth of Viruso Prima Imperialis. I imagine it was quite something to behold. things that slumber should never be awoken. Honor your name. The loyal must be avenged. You were born for this. Pity the Emperor who sits alone on his throne.
I like you better this way.
When I'm ready, and not before.
When the time comes to strike, an emperor strikes without hesitation. To entertain doubt is to dance with death. The Asmeri were consummate survivors. They had to be, having been sired in the most inhospitable range of mountains in all of Rayclast. Unfortunate, some might say. I do not. I believe it was the making of them, and of us, their descendants. So it is no wonder that they developed the Lord's trial. With survival being a moment-by-moment concern, that harried people grew to understand power quite intimately. Strong leadership is able to bridge the chasm between existence and extinction. Poor leadership might see an entire tribe vanish into that same chasm. When the Asmeri descended from their mountains to conquer the fecund lands of central Rayclast, they thrived and multiplied with utmost alacrity in those more forgiving climes. For is it not poverty that teaches us how we might excel in times of plenty? An emperor is only as efficient as those he commands. You are relentless. You are inexhaustible. Only one of your lessons was completed, Ascendant.
When I'm ready, and not before. When I'm ready, and not before.
An aspirant can afford to be promising. An emperor must keep those promises. The custom of the Lord's trial was upheld throughout the founding years of the Empire. Verusso's successor, Caspiro, was a low-born legionnaire, the lone survivor of a labyrinth that claimed the lives of every high-born contender, including Verusso's only son. Caspiro proved to be every bit the emperor that Verusso was. Alas, the Lord's labyrinth was corrupted by those with the vanity to consider their blood more precious than their empire. Selfish blood breeds selfish times, and the Empire paid for it with its own blood, with the Knight of 1,000 Ribbons, with that most regal of cannibals, Emperor Romira. Not anymore. I Izaro Frecius, shall return us to justice. I shall build the greatest Lord's Labyrinth in Asmerian history, and my successor shall be chosen by the goddess herself. Only when the Lord's Labyrinth is drenched in selfish blood can a true leader ascend the throne. You must navigate your empire through troubled waters. Death and loyalty.
I need more mana.
Triumphant at last. Before your emperor, you are worthy. Before the goddess of justice, you are worthy. Receive our blessings, embrace our gifts, and rise ascendant. For this is the ending that we all deserve. Embrace the serene power that is undead.
Need something? Need something? Watch yourself.
When I'm ready, and not before.
You've done well.
Can really do.
When I'm ready, and not before. Remember, Dominus, what goes up must come down.
Approach.
My dear Chitters, the Empire has lived in fear and ignorance since its inception. Our Asmiri ancestors, in their arrogance, turned their backs on the lessons of the Val. The emperors before you lacked courage, lacked vision, paying lip service to eternity while scrabbling for approval and comfort within the prison of their meager, mortal lives. You are not one of those emperors. You are Chitters the Great, the man who will make this empire truly understand the meaning of the word eternal. We shall build this thaumatocracy together, my emperor, gem by gem, immortal by immortal. Your devoted servant, Malachi.
When I'm ready, and not before.
You'd bite the master that called you here, witch?
Submit, heretic!
Have you ever seen the true face of God, exile?
The touch of God!
This world is an illusion, exile.
No one will cry for you, Dominus. Not a soul.
You have mounted the summit of the Empire, not a cockroach. You have crushed the bug Emperor and wiped his maggot dreams from the skin of Rayclast. Dominus exiled you, naked and alone, unto the palm of death. But you would not die, would you? No. No. You cuddled death, promised it the world, made it your consort, and so generously shared it with all your fleeting friends here in Rayclast. Not once did you forget what you were. Not a cockroach feeding on the corpse of a dead empire, like the pests you crushed as you walked. A woman. The sort of woman that planted the seed of this empire right here in San so long ago. What teetering and twisted life it still holds dear, this land owes to you, witch. Of course, there will be more. You know that, don't you? Emperors. Avaricious little pests scrabbling to steal the legacy of their betters. Unless we burn that legacy, sear its infection from the flesh of existence. Go north, my lovely unbug. Go to Highgate, to the beginning of the end. Dive headlong into the nightmare sea. Catch and roast yourself a nice big fishy.